Hi, this is Paramita. Today in this video, I'm going to discuss types of software testing. Okay, there are different types of software testing and different types of software testing technique. Now, don't confuse this. In this video, I am discussing about the types of software testing. Okay, not about the software testing techniques. There are different types of software testing techniques as well. In another video, I will discuss about all those software testing techniques. But in this video specifically, I am discussing about the different types of software testing. Okay. So now, like specifically, if someone is uh, taking preparation for ISTQB certification and all, then your concept should be very clear to answer the question properly. So you should definitely know that what is about types of software testing and what is testing techniques. Okay, these are two different topics, but they are related, of course. So, but that's the thing. A lot of people confuse about these things. So I thought that I will make a video on this topic. All right. So, so basically, there are different types of software testing depending on different perspective, I will say. Okay. So first of all, you can say there are two types of software testing, like dynamic software testing and static testing. Okay. So what is dynamic software testing? You can see here I prepared some notes about dynamic software testing. Basically, dynamic software testing refers to the software testing where code is executed in the process of testing the software under test. So, in dynamic testing, the main thing is that the code will be executed, but in static testing, code will not be executed. Okay, that's the main difference between dynamic testing and static testing. So, dynamics testing mainly checks the functional behavior of software under test, memory, CPU usage, and overall performance of the software product under test. Okay. The main objective of this dynamic software testing is to ensure that the software product under test is working as intended as per business requirements. Okay. So, dynamic testing doesn't mean like reviewing the documents and all those stuff. In dynamic testing, basically, we check whether the software is working or not. Suppose we are creating a social network site. Okay, so there we have to test the functionality of the login function. Okay, so to do that, what we are going to do? We'll put input password, username, all those stuff, and then we'll execute the function. Okay, like if it's logging in or not, if it's checking the valid username password or not. So as per the requirement, we'll check the functionality of that login module, that it's working properly or not. Okay, so this is going to be a dynamic test. All right. So in dynamic test, always we will execute the code. Okay. So the main objective of dynamic software testing is to ensure that the software product under test is working as intended as per business requirements. Then dynamic testing executes the software under test and validate the output with the expected outcome. Okay. Yeah, that's what I explained to you, that we will validate whether we are getting the expected outcome or if we are getting something else. If we get something else which is not matching with the expected outcome, that means the test will fail. Then dynamic testing is performed at all levels of testing and it can be either black box or white box. Okay. So what is black box and white box? Those are the two different types of testing technique. I will discuss that later in my other video. Okay. So yeah. So what's next? Now static testing. As I told, two division, dynamic testing and static testing. So I told about the dynamic and static. Static, the main thing is that code will not be executed, unlike dynamic testing. Okay, like reviews, static analysis are two types of static testing. For example, manual or automated reviews of code, requirement documents, functional specifications, etc. are static testing. Okay, so we review all those documents. So that's a static testing. We don't need to execute any code for doing that. Okay, the main objective of static testing is to improve the quality of software under test by early detection of errors at early stages. Because see, all those documents like requirement specifications, planning, designing, all those documents are prepared at early stages of testing. So naturally, static, if we apply static testing for reviewing those things, so that means static testing helps in early detection of errors. Okay. Now, static testing involves manual and automated reviews of documents. These reviews are done at early stages of STLC, what I told just now. It examines the work documents and provides review comments on those. It's also called non-execution testing or verification testing. Okay. Now, examples of work documents, like as I told just now, requirement specifications, design documents, source code, test plans, test cases, test scripts, help or user manual documents, web page content. These are some examples of documents which can be where we can use the static testing. These are just some examples, there can be more. Static testing techniques are as follows: informal reviews, technical review, walkthrough, inspection, static code review. These are some examples of static testing. Okay. In my coming video, I would like to make one video on reviews as well. Depending on objectives of test at different level of testing, there are four types of testing as follows. So this is depending on the objectives. We can talk about four types of testing. What are those? Functional testing, non-functional testing, structural testing, change related testing. Now, what is functional testing? Functional testing refers to testing the functionality of the software under test on the basis of a requirement specified and business process. Okay, so when you check the functionality of the software depending on the requirements, so that can be called functional testing. Functional testing is carried on throughout the STLC at all stages of testing. Like in our previous example, like if we check the functionality of the login module of a social networking site or any other network, any other site, the checking the functionality of the login module, so that is also sort of function, that is also a functional test. Okay. Now, the techniques used for functional testing are often specification based. Naturally, if we want to check the functionality of a module, we have to know that what that functionality is supposed to do, isn't it? And that will be specified in some specification. It can be a requirement specification or it can be technical specification also, that what that module is going to do. Okay, like a login module, it should take the valid username and password. Okay, that module shouldn't accept an invalid password or username. So all those steps, so all those steps. Now the techniques used for functional testing uh, are yeah. So yeah, there are some example, like these are some techniques that can be used for functional testing. Okay, like equivalence partitioning, boundary value analysis, state transition testing, decision table testing, use case testing, pairwise testing. So these are some techniques, just for example, they can be used for functional testing. Now, in my coming video, I'm going to make a video on testing techniques. So there I'm going to discuss about all these techniques. I have already made a video on boundary value analysis. So in future, what I'm going to do, I'm going to make video on each techniques. Okay. and some more techniques as well. Now, experience-based testing techniques. Experience-based testing techniques, as the name implies, so these techniques actually are exercised by experienced testers, because when you get experience, naturally you will face a lot of different types of scenarios. So you will get experience, and on that basis you can do some testing. Okay, so those are called experience-based testing. There are different types of experience-based testing, like exploratory testing, error guessing, and checklist-based testing, defect-based testing. Okay, so yeah, so these are non-functional testing technique. Oh, I haven't discussed it yet. Okay, so non-functional testing. So far we discussed about the functional testing, which check the functionality of the software under test. Okay, now what is non-functional testing? Non-functional testing refers to the testing of behavioral attributes or quality of the system or component or integration of the software under test. Okay, so non-functional testing basically tests the behavioral attributes or the quality of the system, like how fast the system is loading. Okay, that's a behavior. If it's too slow, that means that's not as per the standard. That means it's not going to be a high quality if it takes long time to load in browser. Okay, so that's a non-functional testing. So, and non-functional testing is also carried on throughout the STLC at all stages of testing. Yeah, non-functional testing includes but not limited to the following, like performance testing. In performance testing also, there are different category, like reliability, usability, and all. So anyway, so performance testing, load testing, stress testing, scalability testing, and then efficiency testing, usability testing, maintainability testing, reliability testing, portability testing, interoperability testing, etc. Now, all each testing, I can explain, but it will take long time in one video. So for these also, I will make another video probably in future. Okay. Then structural testing. Structural testing refers to the testing of structure of the system or component of the software under test. Okay, so structural testing tests the structure of the system. Now, structural testing can be applied at any level of testing as well. Mostly, it's applied at component level, or in unit testing, we say mostly. But it doesn't mean that it's applied only in unit testing. It can be applied at any level of testing. In ISTQB, these are very very famous question. They often ask, like structural testing can be applied at all level or just at unit testing level. So this is a very famous question, but please remember, structural testing can be applied at any level of testing. Similarly, functional testing also can be applied at any level of testing, and non-functional testing also can be applied at any level of testing. This is a very very important concept. Then the techniques used for structural testing are known as structure-based techniques or white box techniques. Some of the white box techniques are as follows: statement testing, decision testing. Remember, decision table testing is black box testing, but decision testing is white box. Why? There is a difference. I'm not going to discuss this in this video. I'll make some other video for that. Okay, all these concepts should be very very clear for ISTQB. Now, yeah, path testing is also structural testing, because all this testing, they actually check the structure of the code. So that's why they are structural testing. Then testing related to changes are mainly two types. So related to changes also there are two types of testing: confirmation testing or retesting, and regression testing. This is also very important concept and important question for ISTQB. The difference between confirmation testing and regression testing. Now, what is confirmation testing? Now, when we find some defect, so after fixing that defect, we have to retest it. Okay, we have to retest and we have to check if that defect has been really fixed or not. So that's why it's called confirmation testing or retesting. It's done to confirm the fixing of defect, to check whether the defect is fixed or not. So that is confirmation testing. And what is regression testing? Regression testing is carried out to check the side effects, if any, after any change in the software under test. That means, suppose for defect, if there was any defect and the developer has fixed the defect, that means there is a change. So after fixing the defect, maybe we did the confirmation test and we found that the defect has been fixed, but maybe because of this, in some other module or in some other part of the software application, some error has emerged. It may happen, it often happens in the software, because they are connected, interrelated. Different modules are interrelated. So maybe this defect is fixed, but because of these changes, there is some new problem in some other areas, or in the same module. Okay, so to find out those defects, we do regression testing. But it's not like that only after fixing defect only we do regression testing. Regression testing is carried out after any changes. It can be fixing defect, or it can be we have introduced some other module, or we have introduced some other features in the software, or we have made any sort of changes, improvement in the software, any sort of change, any change, not just the defect. After any sort of change, there will be regression testing to check that if that change has any other negative effect. Okay, any other negative effect in the software. So this is the difference between confirmation testing and regression testing. It's very important concept and very important for ISTQB. So the difference between confirmation testing and regression testing. Confirmation testing is carried out to uh, confirm whether the defect has been fixed or not. But regression testing is carried out after any change, after every change, to see, to check that if there is any side effects of that change on the application. Okay, so I hope you like these concepts, but there are a lot of other concepts. I'm going to make videos one by one. It will take some time, but I will make them. Thank you very much for watching.